So we have seedlings that have come up. I'm so excited. So what you're seeing here is, okay, so the other seeds that I just ordered are herbs, some medicinal, some for dyeing. I just ordered a few more hot weather green plants like the Malabar spinach or the New Zealand spinach. They're more like a vine that you pick greens off the side, but they can handle humidity and high heat without bolting. They don't bolt, they just love hot weather. Let's see, I ordered, just like my husband, I ordered cutting celery, which is also known as Chinese celery, and it doesn't form the big thick stalk. It has small stalks and it's more flavorful. Instead of wanting to eat it with peanut butter, you'd put it in stews. I also ordered watermelon seeds, just a few melon seeds, and I think that's it for now, but I got them all from Michigan Gardener. I have the coupon code below if you're interested. I do make a little tiny bit. The seed packets are 99 cents a piece, so I'm not making very much on them, but every little bit helps, and I really like their seeds. They sprout very quickly, they're very healthy, and I really like the ethic that Luke and his wife have in their business. So they also have a YouTube channel, Michigan Gardener, and
that's M.I.
Yes, M.I. Gardener, sorry. And the other people that I got seeds from was Horizon Herbs. Now it's strictly medicinal herbs. They're amazing. But be careful because you can make a really huge order thinking you need to plant everything they have to save your family from the apocalypse. And I've done that a couple times, so you don't really need to do that. We should be able to plant into the hotbed as soon as I get some manure. We're still waiting on ducks and chickens because it's really cold outside and I keep not going out and finishing things. So doing something is better than doing, you know, the big top thing on your list. If it never gets done, at least you're doing something. So this is my something. I have these little seeds that are just coming up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a little bit of dirt on them. The reason for that is that I can see that when I watered, it was difficult to get the potting soil to accept moisture. It took a long time for the soil to rehydrate, and I had to put a lot of water in the top and a lot of water in the bottom, and because of that a lot of seeds ended up coming to the top. And the seeds that come to the top won't have anything for the roots to hold on to, especially with these teeny tiny seeds. And so you don't really want them laying on the top of the soil. You want something covering them. And where they just germinated, they're still in like what I would call a pushing stage. They're pushing towards the light, which means that a little tiny bit of potting soil on the top at this point won't hurt anything. What it'll do is it'll give the little leaves something to, or it'll give the little roots something to hold on to. Otherwise, the roots are exposed to air and they don't do well. I need to put this on before they really stand up. Right now their heads are kind of curled in still, and like I said, they're kind of in that pushing state where it's normal that they would still have a little dirt on them. You don't ever want to put dirt on true leaves or on something that has already grown up and is starting to need sunlight, because if you get dirt on them, once they're ready to start photosynthesizing, then their receptors get covered and they can't do their photosynthesis. So, and I like to use lukewarm water, not cold water, not hot water. That way I'm not shocking the roots of the plants. Usually it takes about a quart, maybe a quart and a half. There we go. So that should be enough. And again, if you're going to bottom water, it is very important, very, very important that your shelf is level. Otherwise, if it's tipping this way, all the water is going to be on this edge. If it's tipping that way, it's all going to be on this edge.
Very important.
Yes, very important. So you can see that potting soil that I put on the top did not deter these guys from coming up further. They've come up a lot further, and what that soil did was it made sure that anything that was sitting on the top has soil around its roots. Now, that potting soil was dry. It was dry like everything else was dry. I couldn't put it on wet because then it would clump and have weight to it. So I had to put it on dry, but then I didn't show this part, but I should have. I came in afterwards and just sprayed the top until it got that potting soil a little damp, because otherwise that dry potting soil would have soaked all the moisture out of that top bit of potting soil that was holding the seeds already. It would have pulled the moisture out of that. It would have pulled the moisture out of the roots of the plant. And so I didn't want to leave dry potting soil on the top. So I just used this. This was like from the dollar store. It just has water in it. All of these shelves will be full of grow lights and trays. That's usually what happens. I start out small and then I get a little bit carried away. So I'm going to put myself in front of the light and I'm going to hold this up to you and maybe you'll be able to see my seedlings. Can you see them? Like I'm holding up a baby. They are my babies. So I have quite a bit of Tulsi Kapoor in there. I have some chives that are coming up. I have quite a few onions coming up. I think what happened, oh, I have some other basil coming up too. I don't see any celery yet. They can be very slow to germinate. So at this point I need to be careful that they don't damp off, but my problem is this potting soil is wretched. I really love black gold. I've never had problems with damping off. I really don't like the crappy Miracle-Gro stuff that I got because it did not rehydrate correctly. I've had to water from the top and the bottom in order to get water up to the plants, and so I'm a little worried at this point about that. But I also wanted to talk about my shelves and my grow lights. So far at this point, this one strip with the 2 bulbs in it has been enough. It's been enough. But I can see that it always takes a little bit of reintroduction, a little bit of, oh yeah, this is how I do it. You have things die, and so you always want to be restarting things. Or you put them outside and there's a late frost. If you always have more underneath the lights, then you always have more plants to put into your garden. My belief here, because it's what's happened before, is that as we get further into the season, I will have another grow light up on the next shelf. And all of this will be plants, because as the seeds grow, they get bigger. I mean, it's a no-brainer, but they get big really fast. And so while you're waiting for them to be ready to put out into the garden, you need more grow lights, because you're going to need to move them up. As you have more small seedlings down here, you want to be able to move all of your bigger seedlings, your actual established plants, up to the next rung. And so this will probably be a work in progress, just like everything else. But it is really nice to have the extra light in here. I think it's friendly, helps you be a little more cheerful. And it gives you something to do when it's really cold outside, especially as a homeschool mom, when you're home with your kids. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, I think it's really important to stay really busy, not to have a lot of downtime. And in winter, sometimes that can be a real trick. If you've got sick kids, if you're sick, if you have holiday time, all those things can kind of lead to some lethargy. And we've struggled with that a lot. We've been out in town a lot more than we ever would normally be, just because we don't have a whole lot to do here yet. And the house is so small that it's hard to start projects in the house. So I think that the grow lights and the seeds really fill that niche well, and I'm excited to show you more of my seeds when they get here.
I'm gonna start singing the Muppets. We got cat fever.
We do kind of have cat fever, don't we? Let's see if I can figure out how to turn this so that...
Hi, your turn.
I can't figure out how to get good light when standing next to this thing.